This is the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla in the new full Battle Rattle studios.
Every child has purpose. There is destiny for every child, and it can be good in our world, and that's what I held on to.
A heart for children, especially those in need. It's an admirable trait of Governor Palin and of our special guest today. Brittney Darbonne is all about helping kids and their families, particularly those children who are ill and fighting a horrible disease. Today we talked to Brittney about all the things she's done, her ambitious goals for the future, and also why one company is making her efforts a bit more difficult. Stay tuned for our talk with a true warrior for children and a mama grizzly, Brittney Darbonne. Plus, we'll have the latest national and Alaska headlines in Sarah Palin News. We'll visit the Crow's Nest with Tanya Crow in California, and a brand new installment of Liberty and Legacy with Tamara Colbert is coming up from Texas. Welcome to the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio, available at mamagrizzlyradio.com and now available at sarahpalin.com by clicking the More tab. The Palin Update is sponsored by Full Battle Rattle. Full Battle Rattle, helping veterans suffering from combat-related disabilities through the healing power of music. Learn more at facebook.com/fullbattlerattle.abq. Today, we're pleased to have the CEO of Brittney Designs on the program, Brittney Darbonne. Brittney is an amazing American who has devoted much of her life to helping children in great need. Hey, Brittney, thanks for joining us on the Palin Update. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Kevin?
Doing wonderful. It's great to talk to you, and just really want to tell people about what you're doing. Such a positive story. I mean, there are some things we want to talk about that aren't so positive, but most of this is really a very positive story, and I think a lot of people need this. And I mean, as I'm sure you know, Governor Palin cares very much about our children, especially those that are in need, and I think that you have followed those footsteps all the way. So first of all, I want you to tell people what you've been doing for kids who are ill.
Well, I've been doing third-party volunteer nonprofit work, and I've been doing it through originally Sky High and the Oilman's Archery Classic, and most of it was for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I did a little bit myself outside of that. However, I recently took on my own venture and am beginning to launch my own nonprofit. I started a business in November, and I'm trying to get that launched as well, and that is Brittney Designs.
And you mentioned Sky High, and you were on the Sky High Adventures Committee. Tell people a little bit about that group, because I think it's really cool. They give kids a chance to do a lot of fun stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So I made a lot of connections with a lot of families doing that. Sky High Adventures takes kids on hunting and fishing trips, and essentially that's something like Make-A-Wish won't do. There's more liability involved. So we take them and they get to shoot a deer, or they get to go saltwater fishing or onshore fishing, kind of whatever it is they want. We take applications and we kind of ask them what they want to do, and we try to plan their event around that and also around their capabilities, because of, these kids are really sick.
Sounds like a normal Palin weekend, right, with the deer and the fish?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things.
And, you mentioned St. Jude, which does incredible work. And, of course, you look at our current president, Trump, his son, the Eric Trump Foundation, big with St. Jude. Lynn Patton, of course, a lot to do with St. Jude there over the years. I know I have my Charlie dog that I got at the Trump winery with all the proceeds going there. Tell people, you say these kids are really sick that you like to do work for. What are we talking about here? What are they suffering from for the most part? And how do you find out who's in need?
Well, most of these kids are suffering from some sort of cancer. Of course, St. Jude treats other illnesses and diseases as well. Like lymphoma and leukemia, sometimes the treatment can be 2 to 3 years long, just depending on how ill the child is. And typically, one of the parents has to quit their job. They're either moving to Memphis, or if they're lucky, there's an affiliate close by. And really, I've spent a lot of time at the hospital, meeting families, networking, gaining a lot of trust over the last 10 years. And that's kind of how I've met these children, and just spending personal one-on-one time with them. I found out what their needs are, and I've been able to really step outside of the box and try to help them in different ways.
And as you mentioned, you founded Brittney Ann Designs in 2016, and you've designed a jewelry line in order to help these kids, and some of the money going back to the children donated, the profits.
With everything that's been going on, I think that my line for my jewelry is going to be called Let Love Live.
Nice, nice.
And I'm focusing kind of on some end results right now. It's not everything's quite finalized. My mind is kind of rolling forward because there are so many things going on at the moment.
All right. Well, she says, Brittney, everything that's going on. Let's talk about what's going on here. You're trying to help kids. You're making your own designs here, but you've run into a little bit of trouble here as you've tried to do that. A company, Cartier, saying that perhaps some of the designs or the word love could be misconstrued as their word. Tell us a little bit about what Cartier's saying and what you're saying.
So essentially, Cartier they had their attorney send a letter to my attorney, and basically said, given the fame and widespread use of their, love mark, Cartier is concerned that, me using a love mark as well on jewelry could be confused and lead consumers to falsely believe that, my goods are Cartier goods, which essentially is ridiculous because, as we all know, Cartier's jewelry is extremely expensive, tens of thousands of dollars, depending on what you're purchasing. I want my jewelry to be more affordable. I want everyone to be able to buy a piece of my jewelry because the purpose is to sell a lot of jewelry, donate a percentage to my nonprofit, and be able to, spread love and cheer and help as many kids and families as possible.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. You'd think, a company of that stature and that size, finding, you here who's trying to do something, out of your own home and, from the ground up and with the profits going to help children. Were you surprised that you got the attention from them?
Yeah, I really was. I'm not sure what it is that is so intimidating to them about my mark. They obviously like it, otherwise they wouldn't be intimidated by me using it.
Yeah, it means it's pretty good, right?
Well, that's what
Your
I'm
stuff
thinking.
is good.
Must be pretty good. So I just actually really feel like it's kind of evil, which is something that I've said before. I don't understand why Cartier would continue to tell me that they don't want me to use my love design and get it trademarked, especially since I shared my story with them and told them the entire purpose of actually even, starting the business, and they just don't care.
I want to ask you, Brittney, more in a general sense. Everybody you would think would want to help children, especially those that are sick, but why is this a passion for you? Why did you look at kids and kids suffering from cancer and things of that nature as something that you wanted to fight? Why that cause?
Well, I remember when I was 16 years old, I got my first piece of mail. I'd opened up my first checking account, and St. Jude, I guess they get your mailing address. And of course, I'd check the mail because I thought it was cool to get mail at 16, and it was a letter from St. Jude, my very first piece. And it was a story about a sick kid, and it really just touched my heart. And I knew at that moment, someday, somehow, some way, I was going to help those kids. So when I got in the oil field, which I did that for the last 10 years as well, I had a real job, on top of the volunteer work. I was asked to volunteer for Sky High, and at the time we were Sky High for St. Jude. And that was an obvious, yes, duh. And it just really all started there, and my passion continued to grow, and here I am.
Well, that's amazing because, you're a mama grizzly, right? You have kids, and your kids are doing fine, right?
That's right. I have a 13-year-old son, and I have one who's about to be 6.
Well, I really like this story from that standpoint because, unfortunately, a lot of people who run things like this, it comes from personal tragedy. It comes from experience in their own family or their own lives. And here you just did it as, a teenager who said, hey, I want to help these kids, and you stuck to it. And I think that speaks to the longevity of this and how long this has been a passion.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm very blessed to have healthy children. And, sometimes you almost just really feel guilty especially when you're spending time with these families, because your family is healthy and they're going through so much turmoil and heartache.
I also like hear how ambitious you are with this, because we're not talking just about the jewelry right now, which obviously you're skilled at and obviously is getting a lot of attention one way or another, and looks great. But you're talking about also, acquiring some property and maybe hosting summer camps for sick kids, and offering other things for children, and that's a big deal. But I mean, if you have the passion behind it, why not? And you sound like a person. Obviously, if you thought of this when you were still a child yourself, I mean, this is something that's inside you for sure.
Yes, it's definitely inside of me, and really, like, I don't think that I'll stop until I get what it is that I'm looking for. A lot of the healing for these children is very mental. It's very emotional. They need a lot of support, and unfortunately, a lot of the kids, they don't live, to adulthood. They do pass away, and you really just want to give the families time. Time away from the hospitals, time away from the treatment, away from the needles, and take them somewhere where they can breathe and laugh and love each other. And, sometimes when we do these things with these families, it's the last family memory that they have that's joyful. And it's just very meaningful.
I also like the fact, and we spoke about this off the air, that you're thinking about the families too, not just the sick children. Amazingly, sometimes the sick kid is the biggest warrior in the whole group, and you have these parents that are just beside themselves, understandably. And then what about the siblings too, who are healthy physically but are watching their brother or sister deteriorate? You want to help them out as well.
Yes, I do. The sick children, they tend to get most of the attention, and because they need it, and then the siblings, they kind of get left to the side, and I think a lot of people don't realize the amount of stress and anxiety that comes, along with this, especially for the children, because they're young and they don't understand everything that's going on. So, you want to give them a break as well, and you want them to feel like they're important as well, and just really give them something to help them. I mean, they really need as much help as the sick kid. It's just they kind of tend to go by the wayside, unfortunately, most of the time. And a lot of the other charities don't do stuff for the entire family. They only do it for the sick children. And I really, really feel like that's unfortunate. I think that bringing kids together, bringing families together, and letting them, kind of be in an environment where they can bond and be supportive of each other, discuss each other's challenges together, so they know they're not alone, in this battle for survival. I feel like it's very, very important.
Well, Brittney, it all seems simple to me. It looks like someone whose heart is in the right place, passion is in the right place. You're trying to create, great designs at an affordable price, and at the same time, help people big time in the process and their loved ones. And you don't need to be bullied out of it, and it looks like you're not going to be. We appreciate it, and I told you my daughter was going to pray for you at VBS. She did, so we're going to continue doing that. What else can we do to help, and what else can people do here to watch you as you go on this journey?
Well, I would, like to have as many prayers as possible. Please tell your daughter thank you. I do believe in the power of prayer, and I think that God is going to take me as far as the stars and the sun and the moon. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my supporters and all of the prayers. I can definitely feel them working. But also, if you go to my social media page, if you find some of my postings on my Facebook that are public, share my story. I need to get, my story out there and get enough media attention. I need Cartier to back off and allow me to move forward, because they're just stalling me from helping these children and these families, and it's just heartbreaking.
And where do things stand there officially, Brittney? I mean, the correspondence you've had with the company and the back and forth.
Well, Cartier has not agreed to do anything that I've asked them for at all. However, since the media has picked up the story, they haven't responded. I'm not 100% sure where they stand right now, right now at this moment today, because I haven't gotten any responses. Since they told me, basically that they're unwilling to do anything. They want me to withdraw my application and just kind of forget that I ever wanted the trademark. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right, Brittney. Well, we'll be watching. And again, you're great. You're a great American, and your heart is in the right place here. And I mean, I don't know how you can argue with helping kids that need it more than anybody. But God bless you, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the support.
For more on Brittney Ann Darbonne, please follow her on Twitter at Just Let Love Live, and check out her new Facebook page, Let Love Live. That's one word, Let Love Live, no spaces. Now it's time for Sarah Palin News, headlines, and more about Governor Palin. To God be the glory, an amazing, heroic story about an Alaskan boat captain. Kudos to one brave mom for speaking out against the falsehoods spread by a popular author. A key turning point in the Trump administration. A rare breed, an impressive member of Congress. The Olympics finally coming to the U.S. The definition of bravery. Thoughts and prayers with the family of an Idaho professor. Rising tensions across the globe. Mama Grizzlies rising. There's a new chief of staff in town. Utah's special election is an important one. More embarrassment for Al Gore. At least he invented the internet, right? Oh, man, bear, pig. A major title for an Alaskan chef. Bad news for liberals going into the next cycle. An interesting perspective from someone who works closely by President Trump's side every day. R.I.P. Glenn Campbell. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of 3 Marines. Mad Dog doesn't kid around. Good God, idiot liberals. The hijab oppresses women. It's anti-women and represents Islamic culture's demeaning ideology. Seriously, leftists, you dig this stuff? Explain yourselves, please. That from Governor Palin. Trump haters will hate this old tape we dug up. More awesomeness from Tim Tebow. Guam is ready. Way to go, Taylor Swift. Truly disturbing reports on evil Planned Parenthood. We must do more to protect innocent lives. A state of emergency declared. And happy World Elephant Day. To read about all of these stories, visit the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety and to read her devotionals, you can visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page. Follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA. And don't miss the news, sarahpalin.com. Now let's head to the crow's nest. Here's Tanya Crow.
Thanks, Kevin. So I am having a really interesting experience this week when it comes to a philosophy that I try to live by, which is live and let live. It's sort of what attracts me to the constitutional conservatism that I'm so drawn to and respect and appreciate and love, because the power is in our hands. We're self-governing, we're hopefully self-motivated and self-reflective and self-policing. It's very challenging to judge other people for their actions, because the only person that's really connected to the big picture of their own life is themselves. There's so much that we don't see. There's so much that we may not know about a circumstance. And it's just so fascinating to me to see a whole group or population of our country, particularly the ones on the 2 coasts and the media and the elites, thinking that they know what's best, thinking that they have a bird's eye view into what is wrong, what is right, social justices that they get wrapped up in. And I remember so clearly when there was some crazy law that they passed in New York, if I'm not mistaken, about the size of a soda that people can purchase and drink. I know that's an extreme example, but it's very telling. And so there is a real fight here. There's a real contentiousness that's coming from different sects of our population that are fighting for the power and the control. And my opinion, it seems that there's one sect, particularly on the left, that really wants to control others. And then there's the right, which I find tends to be a bit more live and let live philosophy. And I just wanted to point out that that's a real big difference that is profound in my life. And through life experience, I have found that I don't always see the whole picture. I don't always know what's best, sometimes even for my own life, but definitely for other people's lives. And so that was what I was thinking about this week. I wish you all the best. God bless you. God bless America. And this is Tanya Crow with Mama Grizzly Radio.
Tanya Crow on Mama Grizzly Radio. More from the Crow's Nest next week.
Now, the Palin Update with Kevin Scholla presents Liberty and Legacy. Here's Tamara Colbert.
I am disgusted by Charlottesville, and not for the reason that you might think. I started thinking about Black Lives Matter and the fascists who call themselves anti-fascists and other lefty protesters who can assemble wherever they want and protest whatever they want. If you say anything against them or don't give them TV time, you're a racist and a bigot and all of that. They want their full First Amendment rights to vocalize their hate and trash that they spew on a daily basis on college campuses, the mainstream media, social media, and Hollywood's myriad of propaganda films and television. But when someone else has a differing opinion, that's it. The police declare them unlawful and ask them to go home. And I don't care if they're neo-Nazis or KKK or anything else. Anyone else. Violence in the name of whatever cause you believe in is never the answer, period. We are a civilized nation. And I don't care if it's a Berkeley professor hitting Trump supporters in the head with a bike chain and lock or a white supremacist acting out. It is all uncivilized and shouldn't be tolerated. But then you get Hillary presidential campaign manager Bobby Mook asking the Justice Department to investigate and then prosecute. The fake indignation is just over the top. Well, then Hillary Clinton tweets, "Every minute we allow this to persist through tacit encouragement or inaction is a disgrace and corrosive to our values." Again, Black Lives Matter trashes the town of Ferguson, sets fire to stores and cars and police vehicles, loots and injures police officers, and we must tolerate that? But we can't tolerate 30 white supremacists protesting the removal of a Confederate statue. I'm not understanding this. The intolerance of the left is more than astounding. It's actually the bigger problem instead of what else is going on in Charlottesville. If you want to address something, I think it's time that we tackle the question is, why is the left's way the only way? And why is it that you can't have a disagreement or a differing opinion with anyone on the left? It's only their way or the highway. Well, that's not America. And as individuals, we all have opinions and thoughts about certain things. And it's dependent upon our upbringing and where we live and all these myriad of factors. But if you look at the Alinsky wing of the Democrat Party, they've been in a state of resistance since Trump was elected, spewing hate, encouraging violence, and whatever else it takes to bring this administration down. I don't understand. Let's look at why the white supremacist group is protesting. Because the city of Charlottesville, Virginia, decided to remove a statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The mainstream media reports there were just 30 to 50 members of that group. And then suddenly there were 1,000 counter-protesters. Police had to step in when the counter-protesters wouldn't allow the white supremacists to leave, as they had been asked to do. The police had to escort them to their cars. What's interesting is that due to the removal of Civil War and Confederate statues, we are seeing this kind of protests and incidents in various southern cities around the country. You cannot change history. You cannot change where we've been as a nation. Doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's right. It is what it is. We can only grow together as people and as people that ultimately want the best for our children and grandchildren as well as ourselves. So what is the big deal with the statue of General Robert E. Lee? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. During all these years that the statue's been there, no one said a word. The problem isn't taking down the statue. The problem is that a tiny minority of hateful anarchists like the fascist movement in America have hijacked everything, and they're getting their way. A good number of Americans today don't have the grit to publicly stand for something. I've seen it happen over and over again in every legislature in the nation. We watch politicians on a stage cave to those who are noisier. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Black Lives Matter, the fascists, and all the other America haters simply because they think that appeasing the hate will somehow mend the divide. Appeasing the hate means they don't have to actually have the bad conversation, the tough conversation. I think the only way to mend this divide is going to give those little snowflakes a spine transfusion and a swift kick in the butt. I want to know America's history because it is rich. We have valuable lessons to learn and opportunities to grow from and do it together as Americans. I would say this includes the Democrat Party owning up to their racist past, their heinous, disgusting things that they have done, especially during the civil rights movement. 1 minute it's good, 1 minute it's bad. The Democrats' behavior is ridiculous. They go where the wind blows because they're not moored in morals or standards or even the blessed history of this nation. They see everything as a way to get to the end of the road, which means the complete takeover and control over every individual in America. I want to know as much about Robert E. Lee as I want to know about Sojourner Truth. I don't want to hide from the truth, but shine a light on it and use it to be better as a nation. It's too bad that the leaders of the city of Charlottesville and the state of Virginia have missed another great opportunity to dispel lies, rumors, and instead unite people. Thankfully, there's the rest of us, you and me. We have the awesome responsibility of working to unite Americans in peace, in love, in transparency, and in the constitutional principles that give guarantees of fairness, of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all Americans. It's time to repair America, and healing our land is going to be up to you and me. Are you up to the task? I know I am. And I'm Tamara Colbert for Mama Grizzly Radio. Have a blessed week, and let's pray for peace in Charlottesville.
Tamara Colbert in Texas. Tune in for more Liberty and Legacy next week. And to learn about Convention of States, head to conventionofstates.com. The Palin Update, including Liberty and Legacy, and the Crow's Nest is on demand and available for download. So just head to mamagrizzlyradio.com, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. Visit mamagrizzlyradio.com for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also available at sarahpalin.com by clicking the More tab. Like Mama Grizzly Radio on Facebook and follow along on Twitter at Mama Grizz Radio, at Kevin Scholla, at Tamara Colbert, at Tanya Yoga 13, and at FBR ABQ. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Go to breitbart.com/columnists/Kevin-Scholla. I'm also contributing to sarahpalin.com. Please check out my latest piece this week. Visit sarahpalin.com/author/Kevin-Scholla. So very honored to be working on the governor's new site. I want to thank Tamara Colbert, Tanya Crow, and everyone here at Mama Grizzly Radio. Thanks to Brittney and Darbonne, and thank you for listening today. A special thanks to our sponsor, Full Battle Rattle. Visit facebook.com/Full Battle Rattle ABQ. The Palin Update is produced by Lena Anderson, the Andy L. Kramer, and Laurie Ann Lewis. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update right here on Mama Grizzly Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.